Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Soul Seekers podcast, where we believe that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure, as we share our mission of mentorship is conservation. To learn more about everything we do, check out our show on Carbon TV or go to soulseekersnation.com. Freedom on, everybody, and stay soulful. Do you want to become a better shooter, reduce flinch, protect your ears, and just overall enjoy shooting your gun that much more? Then there's no better way to do that than by adding a suppressor to the end of your barrel. Be sure to check out Huxwrx Safety Co, as they are a leader in the suppressor world with their OSS Flow-Through Technology, virtually eliminating blowback and toxic gas that can affect weapon system performance and shooter health. To find out more about Huxwrx, go to huxwrx.com. That's huxwrx.com, and go get yourself a suppressor for your upcoming hunts. This podcast is also proudly brought to you by OnX Hunt. When I first got into hunting, I kept hearing all about public land and different access and how to find different locations to hunt. I was like, well, how are people even identifying all this stuff? Well, sure enough, I came across the number one hunting GPS app, and that is OnX Hunt. If you guys want to get better at hunting and go deeper into your scouting, OnX Hunt is the number one GPS app for that. Join the millions of hunters who trust OnX Hunt to find more game, discover new access, and hunt smarter. It was a game changer for me, and I know it's going to be a game changer for you if you've never used it. If you have used it, you know the power that it holds. Guys, I really hope you enjoy this episode. If you want to know more about OnX, go to onxmaps.com/hunt. And check out their app. Be blessed, freedom on, and stay soulful. If you're in the market for optics, I want you to go check out blackdiamondoptics.com. Black Diamond Optics offers world-class sporting and tactical optics, including thermals, all at wholesale pricing, direct to consumer. They are going to be partnering up with us for 2023, and I want to start pointing you over towards their direction. Check out Black Diamond Optics. If you've got any questions about it, shoot us a message. Love to hear from you. Be blessed, everybody. All right, guys, if you're looking for a better way to stay hydrated this coming hunting season and on all your adventures in the future, go check out hardsidehydration.com. Their swig rig is awesome, an absolute game changer when it comes to staying hydrated. I get tired of playing around with any water bladders in my bag and having to remove things to get to them and the chance of them puncturing and all that. So what Hardside did, take Nalgene's, got multiple sizes, and you're attaching your hose straight to that. Keep it on the outside of your pack, a lot easier to use. They also have a lot of other cool things. Go check out hardsidehydration.com. Use the code SOULSEEKERS10. That's all one word. Save yourself 10% at checkout. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Be blessed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Soul Seekers podcast. I'm your host, Johnny Mack, and tonight I am joined by a fellow warrior in the Elkwoods, a former professional baseball player and one of the most sweetest hairstyles in the Western hunting world. You might know him as Josh Fields, number 13 in your playbook? What number were you, Josh? In
21.
20, number 21 in the playbook, but number 1 in your hearts, ladies and gentlemen. Without further ado, I got Josh Fields from Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls here. We're going to be talking all about how to call elk, what to use, how to go about it, tips, tactics, and more. And we're going to be diving into it. This is also a live Instagram feed going on, so there's going to be questions that are going to be popping up within this episode that we're going to be answering, and I hope you guys enjoy this. If you enjoy these Instagram live episodes, make sure to go send us a message on social media or drop us a line on our website at soulseekersnation.com. And before we get going, Josh, I got to just give a little plug for the show, Soul Seekers. If you guys haven't gone over to Carbon TV yet and gone and voted for the Carbon Awards, that started live yesterday, August 15th. It runs through August 31st. You can vote one time a day and go vote for your favorite shows. Soul Seekers is in the running for Best Show Open, and we're super jacked about that to be out there. And so I don't know about you, Josh. I'm a winner. I want to win. I don't,
Wake up every morning to win the day, right?
Absolutely. Just a little 1% better, getting after it each and every moment. So, brother, what's happening? Where are you at right now?
Right now, I'm in northwest Montana, a little town called Columbia Falls. More people might know it as Kalispell or the gateway to Glacier National Park. So I'm up in the Northwest. A lot of timber, deep and deep. As you can see behind me, if you can see all that, those are not clouds, that's smoke. So we're burning up right now, unfortunately. But, give a shout out to everybody at the fire camp and the firefighters and wildland that are out there doing their due diligence and keeping us safe. We got a lot of close friends that got a lot of property and stuff up in South.
Yeah.
Good old South.
So, Columbia Falls is like Montana's best kept secret because it's not whitefish.
Well, they came on Soul Seekers Live now.
Just letting the cat out of the bag. Oh my gosh, man!
No more secret, buddy. There's no more secret. There's a few, but
yeah. Well, we're gonna keep those close to the chest right now. And we can't give away all the tips, all the secrets, right? Because where's the competition in that?
That is true, but we're all about education and helping people, and whether they count success in the field as a harvest or not. We want to teach you how to call, and we definitely want to put the right product in your hands to give you the best opportunity for success in the fields.
Yep, love it. That goes hand in hand with the mentorship as conservation platform that we push here at Soul Seekers. And it's really interesting how you said that, because last night I just recorded another elk episode, but with Big Al Morris, former world champion elk caller, and he was talking about the difference between hunting elk and finding elk.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is going to be a big thing that I want to hit on when it comes to pursuing elk this coming September, because a lot of people, and this happened to me this last year on an elk hunt where I flew in from out of state, never had time to scout the property on foot, did my digital scouting, had some really good intel, felt good about it. We ended up getting on elk. And that episode, by the way, of Soul Seekers just released. That released yesterday also. So if you are interested in checking out an archery elk hunting and mule deer episode, go check us out on Soul Seekers. That just dropped yesterday. But on that hunt, I wanted that backcountry style hunt where I had my pack on and we're hitting the trail and we're on foot and we're going to chase elk and we're going to do our best. What I learned in hindsight is that's all good and well, but there's a difference between hunting elk and finding elk. And I was going through the process of finding elk, and people who kill elk consistently are hunting them. And I want to hear what your thought is on that in regards to this whole game that we like to play in pursuing the elk in September.
That's very, very well said. There is a difference. I just did a show here locally here the past weekend, and on one of our slideshows, our presentations, we have several different ones. Ken Anderson and I, he's our social media website guy, does a ton for the company. Great guy. We want to simplify the game, right? Dumb it down to it. And at one of the very last slideshow, number one, hunt where elk are. You have to hunt where elk are, which is key to number one. You got to find them. We can go into a whole lot of spiel of how to find them, where to find them, best places to find them. But truly, you have got to do your homework, whether it's your e-scouting, right? Google Earth, whatever platform you use there, or best case scenario, boots on the ground, right? Which obviously you didn't have an opportunity to do that. So yes, finding elk to hunting elk, two completely different deals. Once you find them, then you can hunt them.
Yeah. Do you go about... So you've competed in the World Elk Calling Championships multiple times, and you placed third one time, or you've placed a couple times.
Yeah, you're trying to jab me here, Del. I've got 4 trips in that event, and I got set the chipper, but I got a second, third, and fourth. So
it's coming. It's coming.
Holy smokes! I mean, yeah, it's so good up there. Those guys are so good. I mean, world class. So it's an honor not only to compete, but once you can get on that final stage. I've been very fortunate 3 out of 4 years. It's a blessing, but it hurts a little bit when you get on the final stage and you don't actually win that son of a gun, because it's so hard to get up there every year.
Yeah, I believe it.
But I also say, going back to our presentation seminars, you do not have to be a world-class elk caller to hunt and successfully harvest elk year in and year out. You don't. Basic sounds, hone your craft. Yes. Timing is huge. And that's what we talk about, is just learning the basic sounds, and then experience in the woods. Experience is gold, right?
Yeah.
So I do that all the time. What the world class places and finishes, the world championships, what that does for myself and us in the industry, it gives some validity that we can teach you how to manipulate a reed. We can sound very, very good with a reed, which sometimes in elk woods I wouldn't recommend. You don't hear elk that just sound perfect, long 1-2 bugles with the greatest chuckles ever, right? You hear all kinds of elk and weird things in the woods that you're like, man, that's not an elk. And next thing you know, it's an elk. So
Right.
Always do say that, we want to be the best we can and efficient at calling, but there's a lot more that goes into it of sounding great, right? So
Right. Right. Okay. So this is one of the things that and I want to talk high level elk calling and entry level elk calling on this
sure.
episode to be able to hit the array of people. I can use the diaphragm. I can cow call, I can mew, mew,
Yeah.
I can adjust my mews. When it comes to bugling, it is just whatever, woo, oh, 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 and, given whatever type of chuckle at the end. And that's kind of my range of elk calling.
Sure.
And I feel like instead of me being like, oh man, I need to learn how to lip ball or these different things that you hear people talk about, I more or less just need to know when to call and what type of call in
Yeah.
scenarios. Um, I got last year. I got within 30 yards of just a beautiful bull, and had his vitals covered by brush. And I got in, and then I was like, now what do I do? Crap, he's not coming to me. It's. So go ahead, just talk through little basics of some of the calls that you recommend and with the diaphragms that you guys recommend for entry level, intermediate, high level calling, and then also talk about
Sure.
your pallet sizes.
Absolutely. So first disclaimer, right? All the information that we talk about, and I live for elk hunting, right? It's a way, not the way. There are lots of ways out there. I'm going to give you a lot of information here this evening of things that have worked for me, my personal experience. I've been very fortunate to be very successful where we live up in the Northwest. It's difficult hunting. A lot of predators, not a lot of elk, but when you find the bulls, it can be world-class bugling,
Yeah.
And so in the challenge of it. So another thing you talked about, you mentioned a lot of variables, what you were just talking about. I mean, it's geography, terrain, time of year, moon, right? I mean, there's so many variables that go into elk hunting, which is great because it's the cat and mouse, it's the challenge of it. So we'll broaden it down a little bit and you kind of talk geography, whether, in Montana, we got a lot of flat stuff on the east part of the state, the breaks, totally different dynamic than if you hunt up north, region 1 and even region 2, steeper and deeper timber, a lot of cover.
Mm-hmm.
But to start with that, basic elk calling sounds. You got to learn a cow calf sound, right? So I have externals and I have diaphragms. The three things we need, and you already know the answer to this one, Johnny, to be successful in calling in the woods, we need our bugle tube right here. This is one of my babies right here. We need our diaphragm, and then we need an external cow call. And Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, we offer a ton of them. You see in the SKUs. Check out our website, which I'm sure you'll plug at the end. So external, diaphragm, and your bugle tube. Now, what do you want to start with? Your diaphragm or your external?
Man, I mean, the diaphragm has the sex appeal to it, right?
It
It's like the sexiness of elk hunting.
Yes,
Uh,
it does.
so what do you think?
Woods with. One thing you cannot go out in the woods with, whether it's archery elk, when we're talking specifically in the rut a lot of this evening, but also early rifle season. There's early rifle season hunts all over in different states. And you hear the stories all the time throughout the state of Montana. First week of rifle season, second week, bulls are still bugling, right? They're still calling. An external cow call is about the easiest thing in the world, elk-wise, calf call to use. So right here is the voodoo. It's not even a bite and blow, it's just a blow. Some of them, and I'll show you some different ones, have castration bands. Some of them don't. And they're just blows, lip pressure, and a little bit of air. Super simple.
Yeah.
You're in elk, it might just be that's all it took that day. I would not be telling you the truth if there weren't many times where I went out and all I used was an external. I come out and and a bull fires up, and away we go. Quick tidbit, getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. You get a bull to answer on a cow call. Generally, basic elk stay on the cow call. You get them to answer to a bugle, get them on the bugle. A question will probably come in. Do you bugle first or do we cow call first? And we'll talk a little bit about that later. So that's cow calf with the diaphragms, right? And in the different externals that we have, you'll see we have quite a few different SKUs. Is the difference in the Mylar reed and then the barrel, right? We have acrylic, we have plastic, and then we have machined aluminum, my heartbreaker, which probably got taken at the last show. But they all sound different. They all sound great. You can do a lot of the same sounds with the different cow calls, but I carry several just because who knows what that bull wants to hear that day, right?
Right.
Get into an area, you're working a bull, and for some reason it doesn't work out that day. I'll go in with another tube and a different external cow call and possibly a different diaphragm to get them going again. That's how finicky, that's how smart the elk have become because of how popular elk hunting is, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm partial. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread, but you just love it. Everyone wants to come out west. Everyone wants to hunt elk. You need to have an external no matter what. Going a little bit faster, we get into...
Let me slow you down here for a second because that's really interesting. I've never carried an external cow call.
Oh my God. You know a guy, man.
So, okay, why do I want an external cow call if I can just work it on a diaphragm?
I will tell you this. There are some of the most amazing callers in the world with a diaphragm, can manipulate a diaphragm to sound like an external cow call, but still with an external cow call, it is just sweet and perfect every time once you learn it, right? It's easy, user friendly, cuts the wind better than a diaphragm unless you're cow calling through a bugle tube, which you can, right? You can even use these through a bugle tube if you want to get out there and reach them.
There you go. You're out of frame. What is that you just held it up to? Was that just a typical bugle tube? Okay.
Right there. Yep.
Yeah.
So just super simple. They are just so easy to use, Johnny, that you have to have them, and they work.
Yeah.
They absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So fair enough. I'm never leaving home without it ever again.
A couple of them. So yeah, sure.
Iron Will says, I have the voodoo, and he loves that. A comment came in, says, Josh, what do I got to do to get you to come with me and call?
Oh, I thought that's good. Well, we can figure something out. I like to eat a lot. I was hoping the first comment coming through wasn't somebody about my hair or cutting my hair or something. Those usually come later because a lot of my good friends and people that I'm close with follow this and they watch a lot of this. So sometimes hair stuff. So
just making a comment about the hair real quick, Josh, if you don't mind. I want to do a photo shoot with you with the cow call and a bugle tube, and we're going to put a big fan out in front and just have you like Fabio
I'm just going to let it happen. I told my mom the other day, I say all the time, I was blessed with good hair, Mom, thank you, and low skill sets. So there you go. That's what I get.
Oh my gosh! Hey man, it's the sexiest hair in the West.
Where's that guy hunting at? That's what I said. We'll call for elk. It depends where he's hunting at, and you have elk because if the elk are there, you're in the game. I mean, finding the elk, you're right in the game. The biggest problem for myself personally, and I can tell you, speaking specifically in this region, 95+% is finding the elk. They're hard to find. Once you find them, basic calling, hone in your basic calling skills, you are in the game. You're right there.
Okay. So diaphragm, it's sex appeal time. It's time to like get into the sexiness of ripping a call on the diaphragm. What's up, Soul Seekers Nation? Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I really appreciate it. As a reward, I have some discount codes for you to use if you are in the market for a brand new hunting pack. Go check out initialascent.com and Initial Ascent packs. They are made in America. Their one-piece carbon frame is an absolute game changer. We run their packs. We love them. And you can save 5% at checkout by using the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word. Also, for those of you who are archery hunters and you are tired of shooting at dots on a target, check out deadnutsoutdoors.com for their lifelike 2D archery targets. You can save 20% on all of their products by using the code SOULSEEKERS at checkout. Once again, the code is SOULSEEKERS, all one word. Go check out initialascent.com and Dead Nuts Outdoors. Enjoy the podcast.
Diaphragm is a little bit different animal, okay? and it's intimidating if you don't have some instruction. Oh, there's a lot of stuff, and a lot of really good stuff out there these days. We got a lot of good stuff, tutorial stuff on our education platform with YouTube. A little bit about Rocky Mountain Honey Calls. Rocky Jacobson, founder, 1994 in Cammy. He's the inventor of the pallet plate. To talk about a diaphragm a little bit. So the pallet plate was designed by Rocky, and this is pretty much what you see in the industry today. Is the pallet plate to include the dome, which was designed by Rocky way back when. So he designed the pallet plate. And speaking, which I'm very fortunate because Rocky and I mean, he's my mentor. I've been with Rocky a long, long time to prevent gagging. It's supposed to fit closer to your front of your teeth, right? So you don't gag because you get, I'll be honest, and there's no other way to say it. I was a gagger, long, long time ago. Truly, I was. I thought I would never figure this out, man. I would put something else in my mouth and I would gag. It was terrible. And I'm like, I cannot get this. Well, a long time ago, I ran into Rocky at a sports show. I don't think I left him alone. So he took a liking to me and vice versa. And I haven't been able to get away from him since. He'll say the same about me. And I went from being barely able to use a call back then to now up on the stage with the best in the world. And with practice, pretty much I say everybody can do that too. You just have to practice, right? So we get to the basics of a diaphragm, the pallet plate. It all originated with Rocky Jacobson, Rocky Mountain Honey Calls. The diaphragm goes in your mouth with the palate plate up, latex is on the bottom. And you want it to fit right behind your teeth. Some guys and gals move it a little forward, move it a little back. And the easiest way to make the sound is you put this behind your teeth. You can see it in there. I'm going to flex my tongue towards the bottom of my teeth. And then I'm going to
Yeah, it's like you're shushing.
Yeah, the air comes from your it comes from your diaphragm in your stomach, right there. So that's the first key. Make that sound. If you can make that sound, which I know you can, that's where we hang our hat. That's where I always like to say that's where we make our money. Our bread and butter is teaching people how to call at the shows, seminars, whether it's our educational platforms. So many people will come up and it's awesome. And they're like, I cannot use a diaphragm. Never been able to use diaphragm. And within minutes, they're making that sound. Well, with Will, right?
Yeah.
We did that the last podcast at the Western Hunt Expo.
Yep.
So diaphragm, palate plate up, flex that tongue. And then, listen.
Yeah.
And the best way to learn that I learned too with Rocky and little tips and tricks, that's the tip and trick. Now listen to a cow elk, right? Get on the platforms, listen to what do they sound like? We have a little calf call. We want an estrus cow call. So when they whine. We can do all kinds of stuff on cow calling, but the basic cow calf with the diaphragm, get it behind your teeth, flex that tongue, and make that sound. And then we work on cow high to low, right?
Okay. So a cow estrus is just a longer, longer sound.
So if you hear. So you just have that little whine at the end.
Okay.
Yep. And you get real crazy with an estrus whine, but that's starting to get real advanced. And when you actually hear that, when they're in the woods, they're just whining.
And
they're
right. I kind of just also feel like sometimes you just got to experiment with the sounds as well. You go, like that high to low.
Well, if you listen to elk and listen to herds of elk, they're a herd animal. They're doing all kinds. They're doing short calf, whiny. They're just vocal talking. Where it starts to get to where the timing and know whether you're using an estrus call or cow calf is when you're working them bulls, right? That's where it gets a little bit more advanced. And okay, do I want to stay with short calf cow calls here? Is that what's working? Are we estrus whining? Is there a cow in heat here? Are there other bulls around? That's why I talk about it's such a great game, because there's so many variables and it's so hard. And public versus private land, it's still the hardest game there is. I mean, and love it. So that's just basic kind of talk with a diaphragm. Several other ways to explain it. The biggest key on the diaphragm, though, Johnny, and we did this with Will, is fitting your pallet. You asked me to talk about the pallet. The pallet plate is fitting this diaphragm to your pallet, right? So Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, we carry 3 sizes of diaphragms on the pallet plate. So we carry a profile, which is a low, and then we go to a mid, and then we go to a high. And what that is we're talking about your arch and your pallet plate. If you're real flat, you're a low, right? And you'll see our call chart. Maybe we can put that up after the fact. I don't think I have any catalogs left here, but that call chart we talked about.
Yep.
If you're mid, where most of our SKUs are in the medium, where the consumer lies, kind of right there. And then if you're in the high arch, that's starting to get into our dome and the high profile stuff. And on all our packaging, so like here I got Rocky's 3-pack, the RTS series. It tells you what levels, and then you also with the chart be able to say, oh, Rocky's this stuff right here, that's in the mid profile. So super simple, super easy. But yeah, that pallet plate, the best way, you got low, you got mid, and you got high, because you really got to seal that diaphragm so that air doesn't escape through your tongue, right? You see a lot of guys and gals, they can really like drop that jaw, get whiny. Channel left, channel right with the air, a lot of turkey callers. But if you can just get it there, then you can cow-calf call. And better yet, even bugle. But number one, learn the cow-calf call with the diaphragm.
Okay. And just for all the listeners and people tuning in to IG Live, if you want to know more about how to call with the diaphragm, we actually do that with Josh in episode 207 of the Soul Seekers podcast. You can go to our website or go to any podcast platform, go to Soul Seekers and go to episode 207. We talk about it. And you actually got Will, who's never been able to use a diaphragm on the air, that podcast live. You were able to get him to start making sounds.
Yeah. He didn't want to, and success comes out of the comfort zone. I always say that as well. And he's got it. He's been practicing. I actually was talking to him the other day. He's like, man, he's black magic guy. Like, we got him for you, buddy. So
yes. So
and it's pretty rewarding to see somebody that said, I've been trying this for years and years and years, cannot get it down. Next thing you know, they're making a quality sound, right? And that's where we have that low to mid to the high profile. And then a step further with the new Next Step Up series, the NSU series that Rocky came out with. It's a 23 launch, tons of success. It's a diaphragm. It's a little thicker diaphragm. Put your tongue in that perfect placement. I don't have any of those. We are selling them. They're like gangbusters. And that is by far and away one of the easiest diaphragms in the market to use.
What one is that again?
The NSU, Next Step Up.
NSU, Next Step Up.
Yeah. Okay. That's what we put. So that banner, you kill a giant bull, you get your own banner, is how I joke at Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. That's the call I was last year with the bull factor. And so I'm partial to that. And Rocky hit another home run again with that call. So, and it's great.
So the differences between the calls or the diaphragm specifically, is the pallet plate, but then what, the thickness of the latex and then how tight it's pulled?
Yes, thickness of the latex and the stretch of the latex. Tighter the stretch, higher the pitch. Thicker the stretch, a little tougher to blow. That's another great point that you make there. I'll take it from right where you said it. The thicker the latex, they're a little tougher. But we primarily run single latex diaphragms. And what I mean by that is just one single piece of latex. We do carry 2 doubles, a Tines Up and a Spellbound. Some guys are a little bit harder, a little more volume. They like the doubles, get a little harder on them. But we found through all the years, Rocky, we're long-standing, 30 plus years. A single will do anything you need it to do. From cow-calf to the most nasty chuckle, display challenge bugles you can get. We run a lot of singles and we do carry a couple doubles. So we're all about like the user-friendly as well. And that's what I love about it, right? Today, I'm looking for my Raging Bull I just had at the last show, and I'm like, oh, sometimes they do go missing. I'm like, oh, so I have a package, just one right here. I take it out and it amazes me. That was Rocky's first call, was the Raging Bull. Still a home run today. One of our best sellers. One of my personal favorites. I will not go out in the woods without. If I always got to have a Raging Bull. So, and that's a kind of a medium thickness and a little medium stretch. And it just works great for calf cow, nasty bugles, whatever you want to do. So you're right.
When it comes to blowing more difficult diaphragms, my experience with them is that cow calling, you can get it. but as minute you try to reach that bugle and really hit those notes, it's hard to hold the note. Like you kind of,
or you stall it out, or you
yes.
right. Yeah, and to hit the, just a 1-2 note locator bugle, you just want to hit it and keep it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can fluctuate. Don't, they're not perfect, but you want to hit that high note and get them to sound off. But you're right. And on the thicker latex and on like the doubles, if you don't have the volume, you'll stall them out, right? Um, so that's the same experience here. If I go to a tougher double, I can even stall it. I got to work really hard to do it, but you can absolutely do it. And that's why we run primarily all singles, because they're just easy. And personally, I mean, I think they make the best sounds out there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. How many diaphragms do you carry when you're hunting? And when you go and you're preparing for September, so it's the middle of August right now.
yeah,
Everyone's getting stocked up on their goods for September. How many diaphragms do you recommend someone buying of the exact same model? Because we blow them out, especially if we're practicing or calling.
you do. And latex, a perishable product, right? If you leave it in sunlight, or if you're drinking sodas or acid coffee, stuff like that, I mean, that can have an effect on them. I personally I will not go. I have at least probably 4 in my pouch. I have another one in the top of my hat, so 5 just in a hunting scenario. Now, if I'm going to the backcountry, I probably honestly got 8 to a dozen for sure.
Wow.
Yeah. And I like to call a lot. That's the thing. Nothing. People, water holes, tree stand, we love it all. I still think you need that diaphragm or an external in your mouth to stop them for that perfect shot. That's just a scenario there. But I was that guy when I first started to get it and got with Rocky. When I see the Raging Bull there, I'm afraid, like, man, it might be on back order, this or that. I'm going to buy as many as I could afford at the time. So I would stock up on them, right? Um, right now, depending on where I'm at and how much I'm calling, I mean, I can get through a diaphragm probably, and I'm working it hard. I'm talking calling a lot, morning through the day, evening, probably a week being hard on one until I start to hear a little buzz. But I'm also really finicky. I need to hear them, anal in that sense, where it's got to sound perfect to me.
Right.
But diaphragms, you take care of them, they can last quite a long time. I mean, they've had them on the workbench before. I know that one was a prototype and it sat there for 2 years, and I pick it up and I'm like, holy smokes! I take that one on the World Championship elk calling stage. I mean, it's so.
Okay, so here's a little. I don't know. I don't know if you do this, but my archery shop. Shout out to Matt Schmitz at Inferno Archery out in state of Washington. He puts his diaphragms in the fridge when he's not using them. Have you ever heard of that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know. I haven't done that personally, but I keep them call carrying pouch and I keep them dry. You just don't want them wet, right? You don't want them to get wet. So that's where we have the holes in the bottom of a pouch, but you just want to set them out. So when I get back in the truck, I'll set them out like on the console out of the sun and drive wherever I'm going, whether I'm done for the day or whatnot, and just keep them in a cool, dry, stored place. The fridge works.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So let's move on to bugle tubes for a second, because I feel like this is. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening to this episode. As a thank you, I got more discount codes for all of you. If you are in the market for anything in regards to calls, whether it's elk calls, turkey calls, deer or predator calls, you can save 15% on all Rocky Mountain hunting calls by using the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word. And if you're in the market for hard side hydration, a better way to hydrate, go check out hardsidehydration.com. Use the code SOULSEEKERS10 to save 10%. And we also have a discount at Graxaw.com. Graxaw is the leader in ultralight game bags and other backcountry gear. Light, fast, and efficient is their motto. Use the code SOULSEEKERS, all one word, to save 10% at checkout. You got 2 different camps in bugle tubes. You got the dudes who love to carry around the baseball bat style bugle tubes, right? The wiffle ball bats of the West. And then you got the old school hunters who love the actual tube that you can tuck underneath your arm, and you want it to face the opposite direction, and
Right.
all that. Break that down for us.
So bugle tube size and variation, right? So with the bigger the tube, generally, this is all general stuff, right? You're going to get more volume. guttural sounds, chuckles, and you can get that sound to carry a lot further. Now, there's always exceptions to the rule. So we have a machined aluminum, which is the bully bowl. It's a much smaller tube, lighter, compact, and that is a real high-pitched, airy tube. You don't necessarily get your deeper chuckles. It's been a big-time hit south in Montana, where a lot of younger bulls are at. So you're kind of that satellite type bull, getting into that maturity.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that to say this: with a lot of the tubes, all our premium tubes, when you learn how to run a diaphragm, you run a diaphragm efficiently. I got some baby deer trying to attack me right here. You can run a lot of these tubes and manipulate with your diaphragm to get that tube to sound pretty similar to most, for the most part. But you're right, size is a huge deal, especially in the backpacking world, right? Every ounce counts.
Mm-hmm.
With our tubes, from small to big, you can still get all those quality sounds, whether it needs a chuckle or that high two pitch locator bugle or one note or whatever it may be. The lip ball, I mean, you can get a lot out of them, but I will say your bigger tubes generally going to give you more volume to get out there, reach and touch them a little bit further.
Mm. What do you think about the whole bendable tubes and having them face in the opposite direction?
You know what? It definitely plays a role. So what I do, and because we've played with a lot of tubes, a lot of stuff that's prototyping and still having the bendable type stuff and directional. So I call it directional calling. It's like with cow calling, right? I do a ton of solo hunting by myself. And so when you solo hunt, you got to call and you got to move a lot, right? So very rarely so if I'm just cow calling, that bull's somewhere over here. I'm turning. So that sounds completely different from here to there. It's the same with bugling, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I bugle, and I don't know how it sounds over the field. I hope it's not too loud on there.
No, you're good. You're good.
So if I just, right there, give them a little grunt squeal. So he starts to come, but I want to be farther away. I'm going to. It's just different, right? It sounds like I'm from back there. And that's what elk do. If you ever are fortunate enough to watch them bugle in the wild, and that's how I learned a ton as well, as you watch elk, right? When they bugle uphill away from you, man, he's a long ways away. When they turn their face and bugle this way, that bull could be half a mile away, but you're like, man, he's 300 yards. He's 200. So I call it directional calling. There is a purpose with having it here and being able to do this. I just do a lot of it with my head, so to speak. Now, when they get in closer, that's when you got to find out. Now, the timing is so important. Solo hunting, put all my marbles in a basket. Okay, I'm here. I've worked him. I have, cover. I have my lanes for him to come in. So now I can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
This is where he's got to come. And I got him. And so that's just a quick tidbit scenario kind of stuff, directional calling to talk about the tubes and with the diaphragm.
Gotcha. When you are hunting elk, let's say you're finding elk, you're working on finding elk. Are you more of a, because this gets hate in the Western world at times, I feel like, at least from my perspective, the dudes who are driving roads and maybe they're not even turning their car off or whatever, and they're every drainage, ripping bugles, wait, nothing, okay, motor on, stop, wait, nothing, okay, move on. One of the things is there's always, it seems like, infighting within hunting. Like there's the right way to do it, there's the purest way to do it, kind of like fly fishing and like a casting rod, like you got these different perspectives. I can tell you from my experience of this last year, I spent more time working on finding the elk through burning boot leather, and it wasn't very successful for me. I had more success when I was moving in a vehicle as much as possible and letting out some bugles, and then that is how we ended up getting on elk.
Yeah.
What's your protocol for? I mean, I guess you have to target them before you even get into the season. That's probably what your answer is going to be.
Well, a lot of that is do your homework and pre-scouting if you're fortunate enough to do that, right? Right now, peak season for us, busy. I'm absolutely slammed. I get a lot of questions and texts and emails of if I've been out checking. No, I haven't. Not where I live primarily because I know the country so well. Other places, I'll be in a couple different states this year. I've done my homework, made some phone calls, but still haven't put boots on the ground. I'm an equal opportunity elk hunter, whether it works, because whether you drive the roads and you hit the drainages, when elk hunting was in different places, it gets it's super popular, but you always hear it wasn't like it used to be. Well, it still is. It's just harder now. They're smarter. But there were many times, younger and growing up, and still to this day, there's places where I will drive to and bugle from, and there might be a bull in the drainage, and it's here we go. And there are other places where I got to put the big boy pants on and the hiking boots and put the pack on, and I got to go 2 to 4 to 6 miles in. And honestly, I'm not really a lot of times going to go 6 miles unless I got a friend with a horse or I'm on horses, because elk are big and we like to eat them. And that's why I hunt them, is for meat. So equal opportunity, whatever works, Johnny. There's a lot of places where you can drive and you can get to ATVs and they can get to them certain drainages, and they bugle and they cow call and they get a bull to answer. That's some people's style. Some people are like, absolutely not. I'm going to hike 3 miles past the elk so I can get further in the back country, and there might not be an elk there, but that's the way I want to do it. Are well-rounded, being versatile. I do it both. I mean, I backpack in, and I know where hopefully there'll be elk in places this year.
Yeah.
But if not, out and like, there's no real way to put it. Like in the old baseball playing days or your younger days, we talk about going from establishment to establishment to find the best crowd to hang out with. Right.
Right.
That's how I elk hunt. I don't have a ton of patience nor a lot of time to waste in certain areas. I'm very mobile. I go into these places, I get a bull to bugle if he's there, and then I work him and hopefully execute. And that's my number one game: persistence, stay on him. If they're not in there, I don't have time, nor that's just not my style to hunt the quiet elk. Now, I say that to say this, because if I know elk are in there, I will cold call, and that's early season type stuff when they're not as vocal.
What's early season? Clarify that or quantify it.
The opener first. Back in the good old days, I wouldn't even go out till the 15th in this country. Didn't have to. I did. I know where I was going to find out. Now it's persistence, right? I got to be out every chance that I get to have a chance at a bull. But if there's elk in the area, cold calling works. It's just how much faith do you have in that area as well to be able to cold call. For me, I just bounce around. I want to find that bull that bugles, and whether he's not really fired up, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get you fired up, and we're going to have a game that day, and we're going to have fun. And, that's always been my mentality, to be aggressive. Does it always work out? No, not always, but it's worked a lot. And I would rather, for myself personally, get in some elk, have that great counter experience, and not have it work out than leave something to chance and go back in there the next day. Because in this country, you very rarely get back-to-back days on them, where other country, you get to hunt that same bull day after day after day.
Yeah.
Which I would not recommend blowing them out if you get to do that. But I still want that chance at that bull instead of going back in the next morning and it's like as quiet as you've ever heard it. I mean, it's such beautiful country, but it's so beautiful the elk don't even know about it. So there's not,
Right.
So,
I love there's a movie quote that says, I forget what movie. It's like, hey, what do you want? What do you prefer, blondes or brunettes? And the guy's like, blondes. And the other one's like, good, because I'll take anything. I feel like there's the two different and when it comes to elk hunting is like, all right, there's the dudes that just want to hunt. Like, I want that elk. And then there's guys like me over here. I'm like, dude, I will take anything.
Buddy, you're a public land, blue collar type hunt, the same that I've been very fortunate to hunt a lot of cool places, but I always come home because that's where I cut my teeth. I just think there's any tougher place, you love the challenge. And I'm like you, and I'm an opportunist. Okay. I have some very, very quality bulls. I have an absolute bull of a lifetime. We've talked a lot about that. A lot of people have seen them from last year, which thank you, elk gods. But if I am fortunate enough to call in a smaller, younger Leghorn bull, great experience, I'm an opportunity. I like to eat them.
Yeah.
It's whatever, I still feel in where I'm at. I don't know if I want to say I'm not that good enough, especially in tough country, to be passing up bulls. I just, if that's what you want, if you're looking for a big bull, by all means, pass them up.
Right.
I got my 3 little chitlins, my little boys, my little girl. I tell you what, they eat. And we had big fat elk steaks tonight because they eat a lot of elk, especially right before the season. So it's like a weird baseball superstition. So I maybe start to smell like an elk. So to help me out, you know what I mean?
Right. Just ooze it.
Eat them. That's what it's about. Horns are great. You can't eat the horns. I personally am not a trophy hunter. I've been very fortunate. I'm all about the experience. I'm an opportunist.
Yeah,
So
I love it. Well, we got some questions coming in on the comments. So one of them from T Phillips 522. He says, if you're in Northwest Montana, which is more mountainous, how do you go about scouting Southwest Montana, which is more of the breaks? And so I think this is a big distinction. It's a great question because a lot of people, when they're talking about hunting elk, they're always talking about mountains,
yeah,
north facing slopes, benches, all this type of stuff. It's a completely different ball game. Can you address this?
that's a great question, T Phillips. You already answered the question for Northwest, north facing, like deep dark timber, water cover. Southwest, visibility, right? I've always been a guy down there early, early, and I'm up high and I'm glassing.
Mm.
And you will see them into them pockets. Obviously, water is, depending on the year, super dry right now and up here. I think in that area, Southwest, it's been green. I was just down there actually with the family on a birthday trip a couple weekends ago, and it's still green in there. So a lot of water, so might not be able to use the water sources as much, but get high in glass. I
Mm.
mean, it was a long time ago, and I can see the old guy's face that told me somewhere over eastern Montana, and he told me, son, you're gonna kill a lot more eyes than you will, or kill a lot more animals with your eyes than you will with your legs. That has stuck with me forever. So
Say that
so
again for the people in the back who missed you on that. One more
you're going
time.
a lot more animals with your eyes than you will with your legs, which yeah, it stuck with me forever, and it's true. So get
Even
high, the glass.
even if you're archery elk hunting or
Yes.
muzzle loading or whatever,
Yeah.
you're gonna kill more with your eyes than you are with your legs.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's quite a statement right there. That
Just
hunting is still hunting, right? People, I
oh
think, get caught up in this idea that it is more difficult. Like, oh, I got to know how to call. I got to know like the specifics, speak the language. At the end of the day, just like be there and put time in, and it's naturally going to start falling into place.
yeah, and just to add to that real quick, not to get on a rabbit trail, being a good hunter, a good woodsman, yes, there are skill sets, right? Good calling, good eyes. You gotta, ears. I mean, that's God given. A lot of that blessed. Time in the woods, persistence, right? I've been fortunate in my previous careers to be able to spend that time in the woods and
Hmm.
be persistent, right? I can't tell you how many times, and my wife can attest to this, and friends and family and people that are close to me. I wake up a lot of those mornings and I'm like, oh man, I'm hurting because it is day 4, 5, 6. I don't know if I can go back in there, but you force yourself to do it. And all of a sudden, that's the day you're blessed. So persistence, time in the woods, and opportunity. You're just there, right? That's why we talk an external. You step out of the truck early morning, you blow an external cow call, which the day to night calling, be careful as well. We can talk a little bit about that. I mean, if you're right in them and you call in the dark, they're liable to run right in, and then you just kind of mess up your day. But and be ready, So time in the woods and persistence is one of the biggest factors, if not the biggest factor, of being what you even call a good hunter, which I don't even know what a good hunter is defined. Do you define that by success or number of animals that you've harvested or this or that? Time in the woods.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up nighttime calling because I got a story about this that happened on this last year's elk hunt. It was the last day of my season. Even though I was still in the woods and unfortunately I could have had a tag for other animals, but I just didn't. And the sun was setting on the last day of my hunt. We had, if you watch the episode that just came out on Carbon TV, it had kind of a hard cut ending. And that was because the last day of our hunt, Two Shot Tony, he spilled a boiling pot of hot water for morning coffee all over his feet and just melted the skin. It was just
Oh,
disgusting. So I ended up solo hunting that last day and had quite an experience, which I'm sure we'll get to this in just a little bit. But at the end of the night, we are like, dude, let's just go into town. Let's get some food. Let's get some gas. And then let's go back up. And on the way back up into the mountains, I told him, I go, screw it. Stop the car. My bow is in the back. Now, we're talking legality here. So I did not do this for hunting purposes. I was like, screw it. I'm angry. I haven't, gotten
Yeah.
a bugle in a while. And I rolled down the window. The truck is still running. The lights are on. I don't know where we are. It's pitch black. And I put the bugle tube out the window and I just let out a big bugle. And halfway through it, I got cut off by a bull. And it sounded like that bull was 50 yards from the truck. And so I quickly returned it, and it sounded like it was 20 yards from the truck. And I felt like we were in Jurassic Park, like when that dinosaur pops out of
Yep.
the bushes. I was like, I kind of got scared. I was like, man, this elk's going to like charge the truck and like ram it with its antlers. And,
Yeah.
but that's the thing is like, calling at night's all great. You're getting them worked up, but you're not going to shoot them. And then what are you going to get them worked up and then they're going to leave the area? Or,
Yeah.
that was quite an experience. Like everything inside of me was like, dude, I should get my bow, no.
Oh, no, don't do that. Speak to night calling. There's a lot of guys that still do it today. If I'm struggle, I might have to even get up earlier and go try and find. But once you do get an answer or a call back, I am out. Personally, I don't nothing more. I'm running back to the vehicle wherever I'm at. And I always will walk away from a vehicle's way. Maybe that's just a little weird superstition thing as well. But if I get a bugle at night and I can't get in there until the morning, I'm out of there. I'm leaving it, and then I'm crossing my fingers and praying essentially that he will be there when we get back. And a lot of times it works out like that. You don't want to work them and keep going. We have, you can take a little step further and talk about preseason early calling. I hate to even go into any of my areas, let alone to go in and call early to try and find elk, right? There's different variables. If it's a place I haven't hunted, yes, maybe so. But I hate, it's like in my old baseball days, like I didn't play long toss nonstop over there and throw the bullpens every single day like a lot of guys would, because I had to save the good bullets. I'm saving the good bugles and the good calls for when I need it.
Right.
So yeah, just to speak a little bit about the night calling.
I love it. One question from R Stone 2022. He says, how do you get elk to call when it's quiet and warm?
That's a great question. Well, especially warm, you got to be up early, right? And a lot of times you're only going to have that first 15, 20, half an hour at best of daylight where they're vocal. Same within the evening. And a lot of times in the evening, which I love. I love mornings and evenings, but more so I do my damage in the mornings with harvesting elk, because then at nighttime too, if you shoot a bull late and have to track the whole nighttime recovery in the mornings, you get more time in the day, the daylight. If it's warm, you got to be first light, right before dark, and do a lot of cold calling. And sometimes depending on, moon phase, there's so many variables. That's a great question. And we could go talk about that one all day long on itself. Just give them what you got. You're starting with your cow calf. Nope. Maybe a little estrus in there. Nope. Give them just a little squeal. One note bugle. Nope. Throw in a little lazy chuckle, kind of a sequence you can go through. So, after I've cow called nothing, and this is, I got patience, right? Be patient. When I've done a little squeal, bugle and nothing, I'll add just a lazy chuckle at the end. And then I'm pretty dang confident if I can't get a bull to answer by then, there's nothing in there. And what I mean by just kind of a lazy chuckle, no inflection in my voice. I'm not excited. I'm just easy, So that's kind of some tips. Warm, like I said, morning, evening. And then if they're not talking, they're being aggressive, you be lazy as well, right? Like, I just want to know if you're around. I don't want to come hang out or do any, it's kind of like talking with like people, right? If you're good at not only judging character of people to people's emotion, like you go up and talk to somebody, if they talk or not, right? And if they don't, then you're not going to talk their ear off, and vice versa to you. Just be easy. Don't go in there and call the world out, especially if they're not answering yet. But if you stick with it and have patience and have the tools, something's going to happen.
So that reminds me of, I'm a teacher, school teacher, and we're always told in education to meet the students on their level, right? So if you have a student who's very short and you're standing over them, there's always that like domineering effect where you're talking down to somebody. You want to meet them on their level. So what you're saying is when it comes to elk, it's the same thing. Don't go in there being the loud party guy, like, hey man, where you at? Let's party, let's do this, when they're all hung over from the night before rutting and they're not talking and they're worn out. So that kind of, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I like that.
There's so much good information coming through here. I've seen a lot of good stuff about pressure at night. I mean, a lot of good feedback here. And like I said, there's 6 ways to skin a cat. There's more than that, right? And I love getting this feedback and talk about experiences that work for different people. Geography is all the way around, right? I just saw one from good buddy old Dan Picar there at Eastman's. When's the best time to kill a giant bull? Well, Dan, I'm going to deflect to you, buddy, because you get several of those giant bulls. But if you're to answer that question, early season before they get all herded up, the problem that I see now in a lot of places that I hunt, including the Northwest, these big bulls are rounding up their cows early. It's like, it's not even fair. It's like before, I'm talking end of August, like probably 16th right now. There's a little bit of activity going on. There's a little bit of that pecking order. It's better early before they get herded up, but there has been a lot of success honing your craft and the skill of pulling them away during the peak rut. Mine was on the 22nd when I killed my giant, but I've killed a lot of very, very good mature bulls that early, that pre-rut, when they're chasing their solo, and pulled a few away from the cows. Now, when they let the cows and herded up, that's whole nother dynamic. That's different tactics. It can be done, but you got to mess with the different eyes. And then at that time, you got to mess with them satellite bulls as well. So,
Interesting.
And I'm sending them to Dan Picar at eastmans.com. He'll answer all the big bull killing stuff. So
I love it. I love it. When it comes to getting on a bull that has cows with it already,
yep.
From your experience, does every herd, every bull that has a harem of cows, is there automatically satellites loitering around the outside, or is that only if there's not a whole lot of hunting pressure?
It depends what area you're in. Do you have a high bull to cow ratio? Do you have a lot of elk in that area? Typically, mostly, yes. If you got a herd bull with cows, there should be, and hopefully there is, that says elk numbers are at least okay, a satellite or several satellites hanging around. Absolutely. That is the goal. That is the hope. There have been times, though, where if you have a low bull to cow ratio, that herd bull, he might be the only guy around. He's got 4 or 5 cows, and he is the guy, which is a great scenario. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's absolutely what you're looking for. Obviously, he already has cows, a little tougher to pull them away, but you're sitting really, really good there. And then if you're just looking for an opportunity with elk, even better yet, if there's some satellites around, man, cow calf calls, estrus whine, or sound like a bull, whether you're a mature bull or a satellite bull, they're curious. They are very curious. It's the game of patience, right? I think we've all, if you've experienced elk hunting in the West, if you've done it enough, you've called where there's cold calling and there's nothing going on. All of a sudden you stand up and look to your right and bam, he's looking at you 40 yards and you're like, how did a 800-pound animal sneak in on me like this? That's just a lot of it, how it works. Or you got a bull going, he's going really good. And I learned this very early in my hunting career. Them bulls, even the smaller bulls, but even the big, for sure the big bulls, they're quiet coming in. Solo hunting, man, they get to that 40, 50, which in this country you can't really see. They're quiet. And it's a game of patience. And I say I'm a slow learner because I still hunt this country, but I figured out, man, you got to stay a little bit longer because when you get up, when they're quiet, that's kind of a signal like something's kind of happening, Yeah. And so just, you hopefully you have your lanes and your cover behind you and you're sitting good and some patience because as soon as you kind of look or you're looking back or your partner kind of, giving them the 3 cow call, that bull's looking at you and you're like, which is still great. That's an encounter. You love it all. I mean, if you were doing it every time you go out, it truly would not be that much fun.
Yeah.
Some people argue that, but it wouldn't be.
Right. Winning all the time is not that fun. Hey, here's a great question that showed up. This is from Bo Bishop 88. He goes, one question I'll ask, is there a preferred distance from your camp spot to where you know they are? It's a great question. Before you jump in on this, Josh, I just want to share an experience that I had last year as I was driving roads, working on locating the elk. I found a random lone cow, and this lone cow was about 500 to 600 yards away from a hunter's camp right off the road. Big wall tents, trucks there, fire going. And I saw this lone cow, and I was like, man, there's a lone cow. It's September. Um, let's just go play with it. Let's see what we can come up. I assumed that there was going to be a bull somewhere in the area, and so I just started cow calling, and sure enough, a couple hundred yards away, the woods light up with just a monster bugle, and I was like, holy smokes, man, like this does work. You just got to go out there and try it. So that being said, these elk ended up being only 500 yards away from this camp. I ended
Right.
up getting on the bull at 100 yards, but I was out in the open and sun was going down. I ran out of daylight. I saw him walk into the trees, and I was like, okay, I'm coming back here in the morning, right next to camp. Going with Bo Bishop 88's question, is there a preferred distance from your camp spot to where you know they are? And does that ever play like a mental game with you?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Tough question. So I like to be as far away as possible as far as scent control, right? Elk, and in my opinion, and deer and the smart big whitetail bucks and mule deer, they associate people with roads, right? Um, so with that, with a camp, with your camping, whether you're burning fires or food or whatever it is, that scent travels. Elk, they don't like people. Woods elk, right? It's a little bit different. If you're lowland ag fields, they're more used to people. If we're talking specifically in the woods, the deep and steep, or way east where there are not a lot of people, I don't want my camp particularly close. Now, I say that to say this though: if there's elk in the area and it's an easy, accessible place, there's probably other people that know about them. So then you have to also play that mental game of, man, I want to be close, but I won't be that close. But I also don't want Johnny Mack and Iron Will to be closer than me because we're here. So to answer that, I would be as close as you effectively believe that you can without letting them know you are there. And that might be, you got a ridge or a mountain here, you might be on the bottom of it and they can be around it. You should be good. Check the wind. That's a huge favor. If you're not playing the wind while elk hunting, you might as well probably should stay in the truck or stay in the camp, because that is the number one factor. We all know the only number one scent control is actually the wind, right? Not
Mm-hmm.
that scent haters and scent clothing and all that stuff doesn't work. I think it can help. I think anything to give you an edge, but the number one scent control is playing the wind. So
Right.
tough question. Great question. I would be, we all love to hear them at night if we can. That's not, doesn't happen a ton in this country, but been able to hunt a lot of places where, man, you're laying in your tent and you're like, oh, this is great. So I want to know they're there, but I don't want them to know I'm there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I would just say my input to that would be what's the road system like? And is it heavily traveled? Because if there's a road system and, there's going to be a lot of different camps scattered about,
Yep.
those elk might be passing through kind of in my scenario, or if you're in more of a less traveled location, that plays a key as well.
Yep. Yep. No, great question and great add on to the money.
Dude, a little shout out to Iron Will Weber. He's heading down to Utah
Yep.
here on Saturday to go hunt elk down there. He says, how do your tactics change if you're hunting a cow spike unit for your first elk versus, everyone loves the talk of, oh, big bulls, big bulls, big bulls. But at the end of the day, man, an elk is an elk, and we gotta, if I have a spike tag or a cow tag, what's my tactics in regards to that?
Great question, Iron Will. Great question. I saw a shout out from Idaho. We love our Idahoans, so thanks for joining. Spike cow. Spike, if you've never heard this saying before, it's the loneliest animal in the woods, right? He is the black sheep of all families. So cow call, young bull bugles will bring a spike in. More so, in my personal experience, cow calf calls. They're very apt, like somebody that's going to like them. And really doing bull sounds. A younger bull is going to work, but if you're a big nasty bull or even sound like a mature bull, he already knows I don't want to play that game or that horn hooked on my rump. So cow calf in a spike cow unit, absolutely, with your external or diaphragm, and then just an immature bull is how I would go about specifically hunting spikes. Cows, cow calves. I mean, cow calls like crazy. Now that changes early in the season. Now, if we go late to a season, a lot of times the better, more mature bulls that I've been able to harvest, I wasn't calling in the bull. I was calling his cows. They come first, and you got to hope that they get by you. He's answering every time, but it's his 2.5-year-old heifer is the one that's coming to my cow call and bugles in that sense. So a lot of variables. Great question. But if I'm hunting spikes, primarily I'm on a cow, calf call, diaphragm, external, younger, immature bull. Cow specifically, calf, a cow call or a calf call. How many times you get them calves just running in? They're so happy to, they found an elk or a lost calf. A lost calf is absolutely a dynamite call. That's another one you can use for a spike. So if you're in the area and there's some spikes in there.
What does that sound like? What does a lost cow call sound like?
Kind of excited, like, hey, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? That also works for big bulls as well. So yeah, you're just high pitched and quick and short. High pitched, quick and short.
It's that little kid tugging on his parents' shorts, being like, "Hey, mom, dad, like, don't leave me, don't leave me." Okay, man, I'm a visual guy, and I like to give myself a perspective, like, okay, how can I remember this in my everyday life? That is a perfect example. I love that. So one of the things is that I've come to learn is just hunt the cows regardless. Right? You're always hunting the cows because at the end of the day, if you're hunting in the rut, the bulls are going to show up. And usually it's a late season cow tag and you're just working on finding the cows anyways. Are you still locate bugling at all if you're hunting spikes and cows?
Yep, absolutely. Because, so I've only seen it a couple handful times in my long hunting career, but a cow actually bugle. That's more so when she's rounding up cows and a younger bulls when I've seen it. But yeah, I'm still locating bugle. Just you might get that spike to squeal off. They try and bugle just like every mature bull and younger bull. They try and bugle as well. So absolutely, you want to sound, especially to a spike. You want to sound like more the better, right?
Right.
Got more of a chance if he comes into a herd or a harem of elk, if somebody actually liking him and possibly accepting him, than if it's just a single type cow or a single bull. So, that's where you're using them cow calf calls. You're mixing in with that locator bugle, nothing too crazy early season, no inflection in your voice, just sounding like some elk, like what elk do.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good approach. And that works with in geographically all in the steep and deep and over east in the flatter stuff.
What about the people that have late season cow tags? Is that more or less just spot and stock and hoping that you see them, or are you doing any vocals?
Are you hunting them in timber, or are you getting glassing them and got to find a plan to them?
Timber.
Timber?
Yep.
I can't tell you how many times we had a great program in Montana. They went away with it. So I was able to hunt cows in the late season.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't hunt them real too late. But you get in there and you'd be walking ridges, and a lot of that time, snow's crunchy, this or that, but you're on that trail and there's elk in there and you're getting to where you can smell them and the tracks of sign are there and you're just nice and easy walking up, and you walk up on them and they're calm as can be because they can hear you coming, but you're just doing a little bit of cow talk. So it puts them at ease. Great question there. Another thing, if you're not on the timber and you can see them still with an external or a diaphragm, whether you're hunting solo or with a partner, I mean, they're starting to get a little nervous. They're a little starting to move. I guarantee you either have your diaphragm or your external in there and get loud at them. Like, oh, they're going to look. Well, there's your shot. We always want to take a shot at an animal when we stop them, right? Not a moving shot ever, which is tough, which sometimes you see because they're so close. And it's just having that cow call, that ability and late season cow tag is another arsenal, right? And I'm one of them guys, I would rather have it with me and not need it than need it and be like, oh my goodness, where's my cow call?
Okay.
We'll have some video out this year, which is a great, actually it's going to launch next week, a video of the timing of a cow call to where full draw, cow call, he stopped, shoot, as opposed to, and I don't want to give the video away of what happens there. It's a great teaching moment, great educational moment. But to answer your question on late season cow, external diaphragm for sure.
What about all the rifle hunters out there? Do
Yeah,
they get a rifle and they don't need to worry about any calls?
man, I tell you what, no, the I'm always here to say the best hunters and woodsmen and the people that are in this country in our great state of America, we don't ever hear about them because they're smarter to just keep it honed. And that's why you see, I mean, I've been so fortunate to walk into some of these places and like, man, I've been lucky, man. I was fortunate to be able to hunt a lot and, with a trophy room so I can sit back someday and be like, oh, I'm so blessed. I've walked into some places, Johnny, that unbelievable in the quality of animals. And you'll never hear of these guys. They don't want it. The gals as well, which that's is what it is. Rifle hunters, the smart ones early, and I know a ton of them, they have externals and they have diaphragms early, especially early season. And they're always, all the way through the season to stop them for that perfect shot when they find them. But you'll hear this year, I guarantee you, first week, second week of rifle season, they will call them and they'll give them the bugle. In the backcountry, we got backcountry early season rifle hunts. Guys, I mean, they're smart. They utilize the calls, and that's why they're successful year in and year out, and they get to put the greatest game on the table in front of their family. So,
Yeah. Man, I got an elk hunt again. I had this tag in the state of Washington. It was my last year as a resident up there. Moved to Texas. Love Texas. The only elk I've seen down here are behind high fences, and you know, it's beautiful. But I'm like, okay, how can I get out west again? Now I understand this urge of the East Coast and the Midwesters being like, I'm going west. I'm going west. I got to do this. There is an allure that captivates, and you just gotta get after it.
you just got to get after it, buddy. And go with those high fence elk. Don't get yourself in trouble. But if you can go stand there and just listen to them, right? Listen to them cows, them sounds they make when the bulls start to get into the rut. Listen to the sounds that they make. You learn so much being able to actually experience what they sound like on a personal level, right? And
Mhm.
so that's how I learned a ton. I mean, you just being able to watch elk and be around them.
Totally. So we went over cow calls a little bit, and we talked about the different calls, lost calf, cow, estrus, all that. Bugling. It's the sexiness of elk hunting.
Yeah.
What do you do for a bugle to like feel like, okay, hey, yeah, I can bugle now. Like it's worth buying that bugle too because I feel like I can do it. Or do you just bugle to a point where you're sounding good to yourself? What's your take on that?
Tough one, buddy. I mean, it depends on what level you're at. Yes, and you make a great point because one word I have not mentioned yet, which is just as important as persistence in the woods, boots on the ground, with your calling, confidence.
Mm,
I have confidence in that calling, man.
yeah.
Whether you sound absolutely terrible, but you believe you sound good, you have a chance. You have a chance to go out there and win every day. You truly do. You truly do. Um, Mimicking and listening, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Listening to elk, I mean, that's the best. But then listening to guys, there's a lot of good guys and gals out there that teach how to call.
Hmm.
But bugling the basics, right? Learn the early, 1, 2 note locator, and then let's go. Oh, I want a lip ball. How do I lip ball? And then we learn on the lip ball, and then chuckling. Chuckling is so effective. It is so effective, and to learn a good chuckle. Still to this day, I listen to some guys chuckle, and I'm like, man, that's like amazing. And I'm listening. Okay, I want a little deeper, a little longer. You get real minute. You just, you want to make it like perfect. Confidence in calling. If you think you sound good, and it's true tale in the woods, right? You're going to get the results. You're going to see that. Then you're doing all right. And I think, I don't know. Be careful how I say this. I think you really know if you sound like you're okay, but you don't have to be world class. You don't have to 1, 2 note forever and the best chuckles in the world. Does it help to be able to do that? Absolutely, it does. I would be lying to you if I said it doesn't. Yeah, absolutely. There are some stuff when an arsenal and I'm out of everything. Here it is. I have this, and that what that kind of stuff works. But I'm always learning as well. I'm listening to those elk, and I love learning from other people. I love it, man. I mean, that's when I'm in my element when I'm around people elk hunters, no matter if it's novice, intermediate, or advanced, I'm always picking up something.
Man.
I'm always, because be in them situations like, yeah. So bugling, get the diaphragm, right? Stick it in properly behind your teeth. And then we just want to go. You always hear a bugle low to high, but that's not necessarily true, because sometimes them elk, they don't want to hear any inflections. They just want to straight and see. Tell me if you can hear this. So this is a little inflection to start out the bugle, to where if I just go to straight to a 1 note, 2 note. So a little inflection. So now if I just straight 2 note, nothing in the beginning. That could be the difference from getting a bull to bugle. It truly is. Just, and that's getting real advanced, but we just want to learn that 1, 2 note bugle. Let's throw in a lip ball, right? Lip ball. I say it's easy because I for a long time. It's just right here. I had a little different a chuckle at them, but lip ball was just that's your lip ball. That's getting your display bugle, and that's where them elk are calling to them cows like, "Hey, I'm the king guy," right? Them cows are gonna decide who gets to breed them. Go real quick, just past if we're lip balling with our chuckle, right? There's a difference of chuckle and a grunt. Chuckle, real excited chuckle. To where if we grunt, we want to lengthen it out a little bit, right? Just that difference. And that's communicating and talking with them elk. The other tip, match the emotion, right? If that bull on the hill, that big bull I killed last year, I matched him. I did everything he did. I did the same. Like anything you can do, I can do better. And just kind of back and forth. And I was working him solo, so I was throwing in some cow calls. But his bugles, I was just matching a lot of it, right? I didn't want to do anything to get him to run or whatever it may be. So match the emotion, whether it's cow calling or bugling. If you're hearing a cow going crazy and she's just estrus whining, you'll hear him sometimes like a cop car. They will do that. Match it, right? Just like a bugle. If he's a big, nasty bugle, kind of go right back at him with it, you know?
Right.
With reason. But if it's, not a big bugle, kind of lazy bugle, be lazy yourself. And then we talk about cutting the distance, right? If we can cut the distance, if we can go there, getting on the same level. There's so much that goes into it. And that's why you see I talk a little fast. I geek out about it because I love it. That's I've done the whole life to try and think somewhat good at it. But I also believe once you think you're good at something, you get humbled real quick. So
ain't that the truth? Two things that you spoke about, and I want to hit on. First off, digressing back to the if you think you're good, then you're good concept. I don't. Did you know I'm a DJ? Do you know I spin the ones and twos? I get out there, I mix it up.
Yes, I would believe that.
So I love to dance, and dancing is something that people are super afraid of. They're like, "Oh man, I'm no good at dancing. I can't do this." And I said, "Go dance in front of a mirror." And I tell people this: dance in front of a mirror. If you think you look ridiculous dancing in front of a mirror, then yeah, you do look ridiculous. But if you're like, "Hey, that ain't so bad," then run with it. Then seriously run with it, because you know yourself better than other people, right? And same goes to the whole idea of bugling. If you're listening to other people call and you're mimicking it and you're like, "Hey, I think I kind of got it." Run with it. Run with it.
Yeah.
That confidence is king.
Yep.
What you ended up doing right there and going through your call sequences, I love. I'm going to give you a scenario, and then I want you to tell me what you think on this. We locate bugle. We get a bull calling back at us. Okay? We found a bull. We're cutting that distance, and we're bugling back and forth. And as you start getting closer, it goes silent. What do you do?
Oh, you're asking for like one of the primo tips now, aren't you? Something in that situation, unless you have one thing to figure out with his emotion is, do you think he has cows? Does he have cows? That's a variable. You don't have to answer that. Maybe you already knew if he did have cows or not, because that's going to play a role of how I'm going to attack him, right? You're getting in closer and he's bugling and there's the answer, and you get to that range, whatever it was. How close were you at that scenario?
When the bull went silent,
Yes.
maybe 150, maybe right in there.
So what did you continue to do? How about that? Let me throw it back on you. What did you guys do?
Well, once I stopped getting responses to my bugle, then I started cow calling.
So, and there were two of you.
Yes.
Okay. So what I would have done, which is a way, not the way, a lot of success with, he's quiet. You're within that bubble, that 150. You're getting close, right? He goes quiet. Who's ever calling for you there, it's time to be quiet. That second guy, which that's another big thing to talk about, is with, having a shooter and a caller as opposed to solo. That second guy, for me personally, if I'm the caller, okay, I know your game. You're interested. You think I'm an elk. I've tricked your ears and I've tricked your nose. You're gonna get into that bubble where you want to start to see something visual. Guess what? You're quiet. Here's a big one. You gotta know when to be quiet. Okay, I'm done too. So go back up the hill, send your caller back up the hill, get back there another 150 and bugle directionally away from you. He didn't leave. He just hung up. He wants you to make the next move. That's what elk do. And so if you go back up the hill and you call and he does nothing, patient, sit there. He's got you. Now you're in a position where he has to make the next move. But likeliness is that you send your caller back or solo calling. You come in. I can't tell you how many different times I had to move last year for that bull. It was 5 different setups where I put all my marbles in. I'm like, no, here, directional call. Send him back. Get him back on that ridge. We're like, oh, he's kind of chicken too. He's not real hesitant. Get him to feel more comfortable. He's going to make the next move and start coming to you. Key factor is you had the wind right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me the wind was blowing towards him, because then
No.
we just
Wind was perfect the entire time.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a big thing is know when to be quiet. They get hung up. Go back. It's not over yet. You can point at him and go back, but be patient with it. It doesn't have to happen all quick, right? Especially if he's not fired up and running in. I mean, we very rarely do you see that happening a lot anymore, especially in my experience, where they come running in like this is the last elk, right? You're working them. You're actually working vocalization. That's where the calling and honing your skill, cow calf, locator bugles, chuckles, display becomes so important, right? Trick them that you're an elk. You trick their ears, you trick their nose, and by the time you trick their eyes, hopefully you're already at full draw, and that's the end game. But that scenario right there, that's what I would absolutely have done.
Okay. So I want to bring up something that Big Al Morris said to me last night. He told me, he goes, I don't care if I think it's a hunter or an elk. I'm going to call it in until I can see it. And I was like, okay, why? Because at some point, I knew the hills were just crawling with hunters.
Sure.
I had a bull tag um, in a cow only unit, and I think there's a couple spike tag holders. So
Right.
no one else could hunt the bulls other than 8 people, and I was one of those 8 people. And so I'm in this unit, and I'm working a bull. If I thought I heard a sound that maybe tricked me to think, am I dealing with humans? That was a whole, like, it went quiet, but then I heard cow calling at me. So do I continue to play the game, or do I just say, I think it's a human and walk away? Because the second guess, like, how many opportunities do we really get in these types of scenarios?
So when you heard the cow calling, you were automatically like, that's a hunter.
In my head, that's what I was thinking.
That's the right way to think, personally. Yeah, I mean, probably. It's kind of speaks to experience. I think it's one of those things where you feel when you know, you know. I have been tricked just like everybody else. So like, there's no way that is an elk. And next thing you know, it's an elk.
Yeah.
We've all been. So geographical, and the other thing we talk about a lot of hunters, how competitive it is. It's not always bad to have a bunch of other woodsmen out in the woods, right? they're pushing them each other away, little pockets. You know, when the rut frenzy's on, the rut frenzy's on. And what I say to that is you just got to be a little bit better at your craft and your skill, maybe a little more driven in the right place at the right time, right? You create your own luck, you do, with a skill set and practice and all that. But just being out there gives you an opportunity and a chance. And with conservation, we're all the brotherhood and the sisterhood in the outdoors. We got to stick together, right? Right, wrong, whatever it is, private land, public land, whoever, we're all in it together. We're all in it for the right reasons, conservation, and have those quality experiences, not only for ourselves, but more so for our family, and to be able to create that transition for our kids. You know, I got little kids growing up, and there's nothing more than I want. I cannot wait for my boys to be able to get out in the country, that where I'm at, and hear bulls bugle. And they're there yet. My mom's a little bit hairy of me still taking them in there because we got a lot of grizzly bears in this country. And I'm kind of a helicopter parent, so I don't want something to happen. But with that being said, it's not always bad to have other hunters in the area. Hone your skill a little bit more, and work with each other. If you know, I've hunted in a lot of places where there are a lot of other hunters, and you know, be the bigger person, the bigger guy, the bigger gal, and extend the hand and start chatting, talking. I mean, you're probably not gonna give away all your secrets, but you're at least civil, you know, camaraderie. You met some of the best people. That's the great thing about in the outdoor industry. The greatest thing is some of the people you get to meet and work with, right? Same with out in the woods. You meet lifelong friends, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so.
That was one of Big Al's points is he goes, if it's hunters, now I'm going to talk to somebody and I'm going to hear their perspective. And then at the same time, regardless of whether they're giving intel on elk, they're going to give feedback on your calling. You know, like, oh yeah, we thought you were an elk, or you know, yeah, it could have been a little better. It's like, okay, there's
But
real
the best, and we have a lot of fun with that. It could have been a little better, but I did call you in, so
right.
we have fun. No, we're all conservation outdoors men and women, and we got to stick together with that. So to Big Al, ton of knowledge. I mean, that guy's got is a wealth of knowledge, experience. I mean, heck, I get it. Personally, I probably the areas that I'm hunting for the most part, like you can kind of tell, but until you really do know, I would not give up on that opportunity. So
good to know. Good to know. All right, so we're kind of wrapping up towards the end of this. I want to make sure and leave it open. If any questions or any people on the Instagram Live have questions, make sure to send them in the comments because you're about to miss your opportunity. Josh, is there anything you want to cover in regards to Rocky Mountain hunting calls that we didn't necessarily cover during this episode?
no, we just appreciate all the support. Like I said, it is peak season for us right now. It is rocking and rolling. Diaphragms and bugle tubes, external calls, just specifically for the elk. We are stocked, ready to get them shipped out as well. You need to start practicing right now if you already haven't been. Also with Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, you know, we've expanded and over the years, a lot of great people working for this company. The whitetail line, some really exciting new whitetail stuff coming out. We got a mini rattle cage out right now. Our Predator line is doing great. I think we have some of the best handhelds on the market. Our machined aluminum Atomic 13 series. They're not even biteable. They're just a blow. I mean,
I love them. They sound phenomenal.
Super awesome. Our turkey line is doing great. You know, turkey hunting's gotten pretty popular up here in the Northwest now. And I've hunted a lot of turkeys. I've harvested a lot of turkeys, but I'm really getting into that turkey calling aspect of that now. So much fun. Our turkey line's doing great. And then accessories, the new game bags are out. Currently, hopefully we're on back order with them because they're going awesome. They're a 4-quarter bag, 5-piece set. Come in right about a pound, durable, washable, reusable. Price point is perfect on them. Just go check out RockyMountainHuntingCalls.com, bugleandbull.com. Trying to be your one-stop shopping. We are for your call and accessory needs. We continue to innovate and product develop, and it's just a ton of fun. And this is for us the best time of the year. It's the busiest time of the year. We're getting close to September. I love doing a podcast or an event or a seminar. I get to go up to Canada with our good buddies north of the border here and do some of the Cabela's event stuff, which is awesome because everyone's getting excited.
Yeah.
And we can't wait for it to get here, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you this. I am really hoping that you can come join us December 9th in the state of Washington. We're going to be doing one of our Soul Seekers community events, and it's going to be a fundraiser for Sportsman's Alliance with all the different lawsuits that are happening with the state of Washington and bear and predator hunting and all that. We need to get as much money in the pockets of the people who are fighting the fight and paying for those lawyer fees and all that. We'd love to invite Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls to come and have a booth at our table and show people what it's like to call and talk about all that. So send that invite. I did not know you guys made game bags. That is something I'm going to have to go check out and take a look at. So that's huge. Thanks for dropping that. And all the Midwest, Eastern, and now me down in Texas, the whitetail hunters, the mini rattle cage. I got to check that out.
Yeah, we'll have our deer grunt is about finished as well, and then we have another real special piece to go along with our whitetail line. Another thing I want to mention about Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls is I'm very easy to get a hold of. We you see us all over. We've been around for a long time, but we are very small on the inside, which means customer service second to none. Josh at RockyMountainHuntingCalls.com. You can get a hold of me at any time, day or night. Email is best. I will respond to you. I love getting your emails. I love getting your feedback. I love just talking, whether it's elk hunting, deer hunting, outdoors in general. It doesn't even have to be hunting. We appreciate the support. If you need anything, visit the website, check out our YouTube channel, Facebook and Instagram. Myself is Josh Fields 21 at Instagram. I know there'll probably be some emails and stuff coming through questions because people don't want to put it out on here, which is great. And I can't wait to chat with you.
Yeah.
And take time. So
RockyMountainHuntingCalls.com or BuglingBowl.com, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll make sure we have that in the show notes as well. And then on Instagram, we'll make sure we tag your account. I just want to give a shout out to all people who tuned into this episode on the Instagram Live. You can use the code SOULSEEKERS. That's all one word, no spaces, all lowercase Soul Seekers. You can save 15% on all Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. So go save yourself some money and load up. Go get yourself 12 diaphragms to stick in your pack and an external cow call without question.
Cow call and your tube and send us your success stories, whether it's success or not in the field. We love seeing it. We do a lot of cool stuff when we get our pictures, and you may receive a diaphragm or a hat or a shirt or whatever it may be just coming in the mail because we love the support and we're about teaching, education, and conservation, buddy. And that's why, Johnny, we have such a good time every time we get to do these. We don't get to see each other nearly enough. Hopefully sooner than later, my friend, and I appreciate you having me on, and Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls does as well. So.
Yes, man, I'm honored that you joined. Super grateful for that. Don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap up this podcast, but we're going to do a separate ending for the Instagram Live. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in this episode. Hopefully you got a lot of information that you are going to apply this coming hunting season and seasons beyond. Remember, just like Josh was talking about, feeling confident in yourself and in your skill set is only going to change the game that much more for you this coming fall. I want you to understand that as you are going through this learning process, whether you are a novice or an expert, you don't have to know it all to be able to mentor people. You get to set that example and you get to share whatever tidbits you can, whether it is inviting someone to come with you or teaching someone how to shoot or teaching them how to bugle or cow call. Anything you do makes an impact and the ripple effect that goes for generations to come. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. Don't forget to go vote for Soul Seekers for Best Show Open on Carbon TV and the Carbon Awards. That is going to be open until the 31st. You can vote every single day all the way through the 31st. Go check out Season 3 of Soul Seekers. We are dropping episodes once a month here coming up. And man, just so grateful for you, Josh. Thank you, brother, everything that you do. If you guys want to connect with us, shoot us a message on social medias or go to soulseekersnation.com and hit the contact us page. Go check out the discounts codes that we offer, such as 15% off on Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. And remember that hunting has the power to transform lives through primal adventure, and you can never outgive good. I'm Johnny Mack for Josh Fields, number 21 in the playbook, but number 1 in your hearts. Be blessed, everybody. Freedom on, and as always, stay soulful. Let it rip, Biggie. Let that bugle rip. Let's go. If you enjoyed today's podcast and want to support the show, you can always like, share, subscribe, and leave a rating as it helps us share our mission of mentorship is conservation. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of Soul Seekers Nation as we transform lives through primal adventure. If you want to get more connected with the podcast, check out the Soul Seekers Nation Facebook group, as I look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. So stay tuned and stay soulful.